In this lesson, we'll take a look at optimizing some of our assets for export from ZBrush. So one of the great things about ZBrush is the ability to work with millions and millions of polygons here within our canvas. But when we go to export those assets into another package, we'll rarely want to export such high resolution pieces of geometry. We want to use a lower res version and then apply things like normal maps and displacement maps to get that sculpted detail into our finished scene. So let's take a look at some of the pieces here. Now the body, we probably want to have a great deal of geometry here in the body, more than anything else, obviously. So if we take a look at this, if we go all the way down to level 1, we've got only about 1,200 polygons. And that's not going to be enough to get all of the map details in there that we want to. We have enough polygons that we're able to use that we can up this to maybe 3 or 4. If we take a look at level 3, we're now up to about 20,000 polygons, and we're starting to get details like the little suckers and the tentacle detail in our actual mesh. So we want to get those large shapes in our mesh and then just add on to that using the maps that we have. Okay, so that's probably a good res to be able to get out. Now something like the fish, if we take a look at this, if we go all the way down to 1, you'll see that the mesh that we're left with is very, very low res. Now in many cases, we won't want to use a mesh that is that low. We want to have something that has a little bit more detail, maybe something like level 4, which is still only about 4,000 polygons. So in this case, if we don't want to use that level 1, if we know that we want the base to be something like that, has a little bit more shape to it, we can go ahead and go to level 2 and then delete lower. That way it'll make that level 2 the new level 1, and we get rid of that very lowest level that we don't need to use. And then we can choose kind of what level to export. Okay, we got about 1,100 here in level 2. Level 3, we're up to about 4,000, so maybe level 3 or 4 on that. Now, something like the eyes, those can be smoothed within Maya, so we probably don't need a very high-res eyeball to be able to export. So we can come in and take this maybe down. If we go all the way to level 1, that is about 132 polygons, so we're saving a lot of polygons there. There at level 2, we're at about 500 polygons. But let's say that we go to do the same thing to the right eye, and for some reason it doesn't have any more subdivisions on it. Okay, it's only one level that is very, very high res, so 135,000 polygons. Well, how can we sort of get those levels back? Well, what we can do is reconstruct subdiv. To do this, we have to have our UVs enabled, and we've got UVs on here because we've created this from our primitive. So we've got UVs already. So to preserve our poly paint, what we need to do first is convert this color into a texture. Now, if you don't have UVs, you can create UVs, but we have UVs already, so we'll go color to texture, and that'll create a new texture. Okay, this is our new texture file. And so now what we can do is, with our object selected, go to reconstruct subdiv, and we'll hit that a few times until we get something that is similar to what we have here. So if we check this now, it's about 500 polygons, which is about the same as the other one. All right, so you can see that the texture is being applied properly there now, but if I turn off the texture, you can see that that poly paint detail has been lost. So let me go ahead and turn that texture back on. And now we'll go all the way back up to the highest level. And now we'll do the reverse. We'll go color, or texture to color rather. Okay, we'll change that to color, and now there's no texture applied, but that color has been reapplied. So now if we go down our levels, we can see that that color is appropriate to what we want. And now we can export that lowest level of the eye, and all of that detail will come through. All right, so just go through some of these pieces and take a look at some of the poly counts. For instance, on these teeth, these are small pieces that we definitely don't need level 4 of, so we can take these down until we get something a little bit more manageable. There's 400 polygons. At the lowest level, we're looking at about 100 polygons. All right, and so just keeping in mind that some of these things can be smoothed within. So that's that tooth, and you can't see much difference there. Some of these can be smoothed within Maya or whatever package that we have. All right, so just modify and change some of the subdivision settings here to get the level of polygons that you want, keeping in mind that you don't want anything too high res to take out of ZBrush, but you also want to get enough of the detail in your main mesh so that your maps aren't doing too much work. You have a kind of a good base to build from. So just get a good balance of that. So the next thing that we're going to do in the next lesson is actually to export some of our geometry. And the way this is built, we need to kind of flip some things around, and we'll take a look at how we can manipulate the axes here in ZBrush for exporting out to different packages in the next lesson.